Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm listening to the conversation everybody's having about Russell Westbrook um, trying to coach the team last night. I didn't see any footage of that. I really didn't. I have no idea the specifics, excuse me, of how that went. But there's a lot of different ways to look at it. One of them is he's behaving delusionally, just like when he was trying to console LeBron and AD on the sidelines at the time when he was struggling. It was one of those moments where you cringe and you like, are you aware of how this actually looks? That was one of those, to be honest with you. That was one of those. Um, but there's another way of looking at it. PR, public relations. He's trying to improve his overall value. So the best way to do that is to be the ultimate professional. And the way he's going to do that is to be engaged with the team like he always has. And he's behaving as a legend. I think it's one of those situations where, when you tell somebody that they're the greatest, the greatest, the greatest, you give them MVPs, you give them all of this, it does something to their perception of themselves. And just because you snatch that from them or because they no longer have that for whatever reason, doesn't necessarily mean they know how to live in that space. You know what I mean? Just like it was difficult to maybe adapt to the space of having all the confidence. Now it's also difficult adapting to the space of having it snatched from you. I think at this point, Russell's just trying to find his lane in the league. Obviously, he knows that he's going to be on the move, and he also knows the risk of the situation. He's picked up his contract, but he knows also that it's a good chance that he's going to be on a team that maybe wants him to come off the bench. Maybe he doesn't believe in his game. Maybe he saw too much of what they saw last year and not enough of what he did throughout the course of his career. And I think also looking at highlights of him play recently, it's just the lack of explosiveness. It's like you go to jump and your body's 10 times weaker than you're normally used to it being. And then one magic night, you can explode again. And then next thing you know, I try to jump like that again and can't do it again. Like he's going through that. And so it's probably a shell shock for his brain, to be completely honest with you. It's probably a shell shock for his mind. And so that's what I think is going on. Couple that with the pressure of being a Laker, not being able to perform the way he's used to. And it's like having your power snatched from you. Can you imagine? Like I don't know if there's anything I can relate it to because I have never been able to jump or do all those type of things. But when you look at the explosiveness he's played with, I'm sure it didn't require a whole lot of energy for him to leap in the past. When he'd explode, if he wanted to jump as hard as he could, we probably didn't even see as hard as he could jump. So now when he uses that same amount of intensity to jump, his body's not doing what it needs to do, and that's like you lost your powers. It's like, what do you mean I can't? You ever seen a movie where superhuman loses their powers and they're going and then nothing's happening? It's like it's in that moment where you realize, I don't have my superhuman strength, and that's what made me special. How do I contribute now that my powers are gone? And he's in that space, and I don't know how he's handling that. That's what it looks like. It looks like he's not handling that very well. And so my thought is to go back to the basics and turn yourself into a fundamentalist, because that's what greats have to do. When you lose your powers and you lose your superhuman strength, you got to go back to the basics and learn the game. I think the problem is his coaches let him run rampant as a young player because of his superhuman powers. It didn't really pull him aside and teach him certain things that can allow him to adjust now and still play at a superstar level. This is why it's important. I think most of these players who are watching him, who also have that type of athleticism, pay attention to what's going on with him, because this most definitely can happen to you, and you can most definitely do something about it by becoming as good as you can at the things that don't have anything to do with leaping and jumping and being elite with your shooting and things like that can go as your legs go, that can go as you age. So those are the players who can stay low to the ground and learn their fundamentals and take advantage of different things that help them as pros on the floor, will be able to weather that storm when the athleticism wanes. And don't let your coaches tell you that all you have to do is just jump over everybody. No, you want to learn how to play the game, especially if you're a point guard. Because what we're learning is Russell Westbrook, he didn't make good decisions on the basketball floor. His timing was off. A lot of stuff. You can see he was just getting away with it. Because at the end of the day, he can get from 0 to 100 in a matter of a millisecond and fly out the rim, fly out the gym at any moment and tear the rim off repeatedly. You know what I mean? And because of his energy and because of his motor, it just carried him. It carried him as an athlete. I think the best thing for Russell to have done was to retire. As soon as he understood that his body had shut down like that, he should have let it go immediately. Because what it ends up doing is makes you look crazy. Now you running around trying to be the legend that you are, people laughing at you because all they see is what they see now. Half of these kids ain't gonna even check to see no highlights. All they gonna look and is to check and see the lowlights at this point. And because he didn't win in the past, because there was no championships, because the presence of KD leaving and all of that stuff led up to this anyway. Everybody was already questioning his skills to begin with. Now we get to a point where he's really exposed, and it's like he's not getting the credit as a legend after accomplishing all he's accomplished. Granted, a lot of it was because of what he was capable of doing, but are you going to take away the fact that he did it? Are you going to take away the fact that it was something you've never seen before? Are you going to take away the fact that this is not within his control? That he lost it rather than him throwing it away, so to speak. And people act like he took his powers off and threw them in the trash can. I mean, at this point in time, we just got to respect the Father Time caught up to one of the best players. And this is what happens when some players age, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I want to say. I've been thinking about this situation, and since they've been talking about it, it makes even more sense to talk about it myself. So, Russell Westbrook earned all that he has. The money that he made from this contract, we've discussed it, that was gifted to him by the team that initially signed him to that contract. They believed he was worth that at the time. To them, he was. And so that's just all it was. It's not like he's, signing this contract this year and we're expecting him to play $47 million worth of basketball. No. That was gifted to him. So by him earning that, rather, over a course of many years. So at the end of the day, man, with him kind of trying to coach the team, I think in most situations, including that one, his presence was probably otherwise appreciated by those young players. You know what I mean? Did they see him last year? Yes. But they're ballers too. And so they have a different perspective on him struggling than maybe the Joe fan who only listens to such and such talk about it. I think ball players, I think a good portion of them have an understanding that this could happen to them too. And they could have, great opportunities to succeed just like Russell did too if they maximize their willingness to work hard and take care of their bodies. And I think one of the reasons why his athleticism kind of shut off overnight is because he's been very durable over the years, because he's played so much basketball. It's because he has been on the floor running back and forth, jumping and flying and all of that stuff. Players know that, and they're going to listen to what he has to say. And, it may be a distraction if the whole arena is screaming, ha, we want Kyrie and all this and that and the third, for sure. But if there wasn't none of them in the gym and he was over there, I'm pretty sure they just listen to what he had to say because he's their OG. Even if he is a little wacky, even if he is a little, crazy or whatever the case they may see him as, they still going to listen because they know he knows what they need to know, including the good and the bad. And they'd be damn dumb if they didn't listen to him, to be honest with you. So that's what I got to say, man. I think the disrespect is like, it's low hanging. You know what I mean? When somebody plays poorly and they don't react well to the criticism, it's like, look at you not reacting well to us pointing and poking at you. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but how would you react if all of that was being pointed at you? And if the answer is not absolutely poised and perfectly fine, then, maybe you should cut the man some slack. So that's kind of how I look at it. I don't just look at how people act. I look at the world that's coming back at them. That matters too. They are a reflection of what is coming at them. So if they stick their chest out in a way that's basically delusional to the rest of us, it's because they're probably fighting battles that require them to feel that way. The same thing that makes a person great can be the same thing that makes them horrible. And I think him believing in himself to such a degree to where it was practically delusional was why he was able to do things that no one else could do. It wasn't just his athleticism. He literally knew that he could do things, and he did them on the basketball floor, flying and all that stuff. You know, it's that same mentality. It's that same delusional mentality. I don't care who's underneath you. I'm dunking on you. I'm jumping over you, and then you're gonna fall, and that's it. And then I'm gonna go back and do it again. And a lot of it was going so fast. He's moving so fast. So you gotta understand. That's also part of the problem. Is always playing at that speed. It becomes autopilot. You never have to slow down. You never see the fruit in slowing down. That's just as important as being able to do it in slow motion. Also works in your advantage if everybody else is moving fast. I remember LeBron was mentioning something like that as well, in regards to why he loved Luka's game so much, because Luka understood the importance of speed. You slow down has the same effect if everybody around you is moving really, really fast. They run, simply they will run past you, or rather, you see them flying by you. So that slow motion stuff works. So that's the type of stuff that Russell Westbrook needs to work into his equation now. Just like Kobe worked on footwork back in the day, Russell needs to work on how best to perceive speed as a means of something that he can maneuver around. You know what I mean? Rather than just playing at one speed at all times. And, those type of things you have to be open to. You know what I mean? And I think him kind of being the way that he is with that chest out, kind of like delusional, I don't care if you see me one way or not, I'm going to be this way. It seems to me he doesn't allow the new coaching or the old dog new tricks to come in. He don't let that new tricks to come into his old dog mentality, is what it seems like to me. I could be wrong. I don't know the man, but from afar, that's what it seems. So, I just think Russell needs great coaching, man. Honestly, I just think the man needs great coaching. It may be a little late to say the least. Obviously, he's later in his career, but that's all he really needed. Somebody who could slow him down, pull him aside and say, your athleticism is not going to carry you, but these fundamentals will. Now let's work on these. And then spend that time with him and not get frustrated with him however long it take or whatever. If they would have did that back in year 4, year 5, by the time we get to this point, he would have been much better at finishing, much better at ball handling, much better at all the different things that people criticize him for. And I don't think he would have been as frustrated playing with the Lakers, because he wouldn't have been reacting so much to himself not being able to do the things he used to be able to do. And he would have been reacting more so to those habits that work for you when your athleticism disappears. So that's why the game must be studied, man. That's why it must be studied by everybody. So you'll have a chance if your athleticism goes, So I don't think it's too late for Russell Westbrook. Why? Because he's taking care of his body all this time. He's a workout warrior. Even if he's lost his athleticism, he's still going to be in better shape than everybody else. He just needs to get used to his new body. Instead of thinking it's time to explode, now he needs to learn how to use his hands in ways that allow him to be under control a little better. You know what I mean? As opposed to just trusting that it's going to slam through. Now he needs to work on touch and things of that nature. It's going to take time. He's not good at those things right now, but that doesn't mean that if he doesn't focus in on it, be intent on it, and have people work with him and be humble about the learning process, that he won't get it. Come on. I mean, I think Russell is probably about 33, 34 years old. I'm telling you, I'm going to be 38 next month. And in the last 2 years, I've learned things and got better at things that I never even tried before. So what I'm telling you is you can learn new tricks after his age. You just have to be willing to. You just have to be willing to accept the fact that there is a new process to begin and start the process of doing it. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Don't get so cocky. I've mastered that. I've mastered this. I've mastered that. All right, then let's try something new. Simple as that. You done conquered the NBA. You got an MVP. You got here, right? All right, let's try something new. How about we say, hey, I suck at this, and focus on it like crazy. Obsess over it even. Get it right. And then move on to the next thing. I promise you do that enough times, you won't even have the struggles. You won't even be thinking about your struggles no more, because you have too many things on autopilot that work against those struggles. And I think that's what progression and building is about. That's what Kobe was about. He kept on working. I ain't worried about my athleticism going away. I don't care if my shoulder's out. Man, I'm going to figure out how to shoot with my left. I don't care if my Achilles went out. You know why? Because I'm going to become more efficient at other things. I'm going to find ways of doing other things. I'm going to become a better facilitator. I'm going to do everything I need to do to work against those strengths instead of letting my mind work against me because of those weaknesses. And I'm telling you, that's the equation that Russell Westbrook needs to figure out. And I think taking off a Laker jersey and putting on something else will help a lot too. Getting out of this situation, getting away from this madness, getting away from these fans who clown him and all that nonsense, and just get into a situation where he can get back to a Washington-like atmosphere. Roll with somebody who wants to play ball and just run, and he can find himself again in a system that's much better. I think he probably would have found that with Darvin Ham, because I think Darvin Ham legitimately has a plan for him that I think he would have bought into. Even if Darvin asked him to play off the bench, I think he actually would have did it for Darvin. And if we're forced to see him on the team this year, I'm willing to bet at some point in time he will come off the bench for Darvin Ham. He will. I know he will. And you know what makes me think he will? Because he was on the team with Carmelo Anthony during that whole process when Carmelo had to accept that he was no longer a superstar. The press conference, well, they want me to come off the bench. Russie was on the team. He was right there. He knows how that goes when someone else has to go through that. He knows. So it's just about him going through it now. And look, you've already made your money. It's not like you didn't make your money. You could always look at someone else's situation like Isaiah Thomas. He didn't make it. He didn't get the money. He was always this close, but never quite there. And to me, it just seems like, look, you got to count your blessings. You want an MVP. You've been in situations where you got a whole town in OKC that calls you their guy no matter what. You know what I mean? Not everybody has that. I think of a lot of worse paths than Russell Westbrook's. Players who have better fundamentals who have had worse paths. You know what I mean? They didn't get the MVPs, but they would have if they would have been in situations to do so, if they had the athleticism he had. Those type of things, the motor that he has. So, I don't know. Where much is given, much can be taken away, I suppose, and much is definitely expected. So, for him, it's just about getting his head right, in my opinion, accepting where he's at, and building from here, man. Building, Get better at the stuff you weren't no good at. Ball handling, finishing at the rim, stuff like that. Okay, you can't dunk like you used to. Fine, get much better at laying the ball up. Shoot. And that's my thing. I'm different, man. In my mind, I'm like, if I had the year Russell Westbrook had, and I got friends in the industry, not the industry, in the business that can help me at those things. Like, for example, if I had Kyrie Irving's number, I'm working in the summertime with Kai. That's the best finisher I can think of in the world. I'm going to be working with him, and we're going to be watching me brick 100 layups in a row till I get to a point where I'm making 100 in a row. And I'm going to do that knowing I'm a Hall of Famer, right? Knowing that I'm more accomplished than, say, Kai, for example. Knowing, because I don't care about what I was or what I'm not. I just care about what I need to get better at to keep my career going, and that's it. That is it. And not accepting that those are weaknesses in existence, not accepting that weaknesses exist, is only going to keep those weaknesses in your life. Simple as that. That's what I've learned. You gotta attack them things, man. And that's what I think Russell is wrestling with. I think he doesn't yet have that battle in mind. I think he's still trying to fight all of us. Everybody else who say he can't. Everybody say you can't. All this stuff. It's a time and a place to be defensive, and then there's a time to accept the criticism and let it make you better. And I think it's time for him to take all this bullying and all this criticism and let it make him a better fundamental basketball player. I would be trying to get better defensively. Whatever concepts I could learn to make me a better defensive player, I don't care what the hell I got to do. You ain't going to see me looking the way I looked last time you saw me in a Laker jersey if my name is Russell Westbrook. Especially if everybody calling my name out, calling me crazy. I'm not going to come out with the intent of being the old Westbrook. I'm going to come out with the intent of being the best version of this Westbrook. And that's all he can do. If that means he only averaged 5 points, 15 minutes, those are going to be the best 5 points, 15 minutes you've seen out of him, because that is the mentality I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So it's just about the progress. It's about the progress. Do you want to get better? Or do you want to just accept the fact that you was who you were, and now everybody's about to tarnish your name because you look funny last time we saw you? It's up to you. I can come to his defense. Skip can bash him away. But at the end of the day, it's about Russell Westbrook doing the work. Doing the work. Just like he's always done. Do the work. You know what I mean? If it starts here, and then it starts with acceptance, and then it begins further with the work on the game, man. So that's what it is. A lot of people have criticized him about his game, man. And I don't think he's taken that criticism in. I don't think he's done the work. Straight up, I think he has looked at all of them and gave them the finger and kept doing it his way. And I think that's gotten him as far as he is. If he wants to get better, he got to do things differently. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching.